Hi everyone. So I've been sitting on this message for a couple days now, and I just wanted to get it out because I think I finally worded it the right way, where I feel like I could get the intention across the right way. So I think a lot of people misunderstand detachment. They hear that word and immediately think that it means becoming cold, like they have to stop caring, like they have to shut down emotionally, or like you have to harden your heart just to move on. But I don't think that's what real healing always looks like. Sometimes attachment is not coldness at all. Sometimes it's compassion with boundaries. Sometimes it's love without possession. Sometimes it's the decision to stop carrying something that is hurting you, even when part of you still cares. And I think that matters because a lot of people say attachment is what is draining them, not because it is healthy, but because they think that letting go means they have to become bitter. They think that they have to release something, that they have to turn it into anger. They think that if they walk away, they have to make themselves stop feeling. They think if they detach, it means that they never felt what was real. But that's not true. You can care and still let go. You can love and still release. You can acknowledge that something mattered and still decide that it is no longer meant to have access to your peace. And that is not weakness. That is healing with maturity. Because the truth is, not everything we hold on to is meant to stay in our lives forever. Some things were meant to teach us. Some things were meant to awaken us. Some things were meant to show us where we were still wounded. And some things were meant to reveal what we needed to stop chasing, stop tolerating, or stop trying to force. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do is stop clinging onto what is no longer aligned. Not from cruelty, not from revenge, not from trying to make someone pay, but from peace. And I think that's one of the hardest lessons for people to learn. Because when something hurts us so deeply, we often feel like holding on proves that it mattered. Like if we keep thinking about it, replaying it, reaching for it, waiting on it, trying to fix it, maybe somehow, some way we can justify the pain. But sometimes holding on does not honor that wound. Sometimes it keeps the wound open. Sometimes we are not holding on to love. Sometimes we're holding on to unfinished pain. And there comes a point where healing asks a different question. Not how do I get this back or how do I make this work? Not even how do I make them understand? But the real question is, how do I finally make peace with releasing what is hurting me? And that is a different kind of strength. Because letting go from a place of healing is not dramatic. It is not loud. It is not always some big final speech with some grand emotional exit. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it's just the moment you decide, I am not doing this to myself anymore. I'm not going to keep responding to this wound every day. I'm not going to keep making my peace dependent on somebody else's choice, their feelings, or what they give back. I'm not going to keep holding on to something that is costing me my wholeness. And I think people need to hear this. You do not have to hate what hurt you in order to heal from it. You do not have to turn everything into an enemy. You do not have to erase the good that may have existed. You do not have to rewrite the story in the most bitter way possible just to justify moving on. You can simply tell the truth. You can say, this mattered to me. This affected me deeply. This may have even changed me. But I can also see that carrying this in a way is no longer helping me heal. And that is honest and grounded with compassion. And compassion matters here because real detachment is not about releasing the other person, the situation, the dream, or even the version of life that you wish you'd had. It's about having compassion for yourself. And a lot of people know how to extend grace to others, but they do not know how to extend it inward. They will keep themselves stuck in pain trying to understand. They will keep tolerating what drains them because they do not want to seem harsh. They will keep over-explaining, overreaching, overgiving, and overweighting, all in the name of caring. But caring for others should not require abandoning yourself. At some point, self-compassion has to enter the room. At some point, healing has to say, I can wish you well and still choose distance. I can forgive without reconnection. I can release without needing to destroy it. And I can let go without having hatred living in my heart. And that is powerful, because hatred keeps you tied to something too. Bitterness keeps you bound. Resentment can become another form of attachment. So when you let go from a place of compassion, what you're really choosing is freedom. Not fake peace, not suppressed emotion, not pretending it didn't hurt. Real peace. The kind that says, I do not need to keep bleeding in order to prove I was wounded. I do not need to keep carrying this in order to prove it was real. I do not need to stay emotionally chained to something just because it once had meaning in my life. I can honor what was real and still release it with no longer having right to me. That, to me, is what healing detachment is really like. Not emotional numbness, but emotional wisdom. It's knowing the difference between love and attachment, the difference between compassion and self-sacrifice, but remembering and remaining trapped, between hoping for healing and refusing to accept reality. And sometimes accepting reality is one of the most sacred things you could do, because healing often begins when you stop fighting what is already telling you the truth, and it's time to let go. And that doesn't mean it's easy. Letting go can hurt. Detaching can feel like grief. Releasing can feel like stepping into unfamiliar space with empty hands. But empty hands are not always a loss. Sometimes empty hands means that you are finally able to receive peace, finally able to receive clarity, finally available to receive something healthier than what you kept trying to hold on to. And I think there's something beautiful in choosing to let something down gently, not throwing it in rage, not dragging it behind you, and not building your whole identity around what happened, just setting it down with truth, dignity, compassion, and with the understanding that some things end, some things change form, and some things are only healed when they are no longer being gripped onto too tightly. You do not have to become hard to become free. You do not have to hate what you release. And you do not have to turn pain into cruelty just to justify your healing. You are allowed to let go with love. You are allowed to let go with sorrow. You are allowed to let go with compassion. And you are allowed to let go because your peace matters too. And sometimes the most healed thing you can do is to stop trying to carry what is no longer yours to carry. Detachment is not always a loss of love. Sometimes it is love expressed through wisdom. Thank you guys. That's today's message. Please leave a comment. Let me know if it resonated with you. I do appreciate the feedback. It lets me know that my message is getting out there and that it meant something to somebody, and it inspires me to continue making more messages for the collective. All right. I hope you all have a great day with much love, and I will talk to you soon.